Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Up Supercast Game Club. My name is Brandon, and I am your host. And joining me today, I have Ills.
Well, all the dialogue in this game is Japanese, so I'm just gonna say, "And God said, let there be wind."
And I have Noah.
Please don't be a butterface. Please don't be a butterface. Please don't be a butterface.
And this week on the Up Supercast Game Club, we finally got around to playing a little game called Policenauts. And
Yeah.
Yay.
I've been meaning to pick this game for a while, and finally got around to it. I decided it was going to be my first pick of this year. So, Policenauts was originally released back in Japan on July 29th, 1994 for the PC 9821. So, that version is a little bit different than the version we played because it was subsequently re-released and kind of redone for the 3DO, then the PlayStation, and then the Sega Saturn. So there was 3 versions of it that came out after. There were a little bit of changes to each of the versions. The biggest jump was, of course, from the original PC version to the console versions, which went from pixelized graphics to more of a actual hand-drawn artwork, like anime style. So if you look at the screenshots, they do differ a bit from one version to the next. But we played the PlayStation version, and this game only came out in Japan, so we played a fan-translated version of it. So want to give a big thank you to everybody who worked on the fan translation of this game over at, I think it's Junker HQ. So thank you for everybody who did that. The English translation came out in 2009. So they worked on the PlayStation version first. That's the one we played. I did read that there was another English patch that came out for the Sega Saturn version that was released in 2016. So there's 2 different versions of this game you can play. And there are a little bit of difference, actually, that I read between the 2 versions. So, Policenauts, again, I picked this game, and I'll just explain real quick to everybody out there why I picked this game. And the main reason was because, one, we played another game on the Game Club a couple of years ago called Snatcher. And this is a bit of a kind of a spiritual follow-up to that. And the director behind this game is a man that a lot of people may know. His name is Hideo Kojima. And you may know Kojima, of course, from, of course, probably not because of Snatcher, but from his big game
From the
series.
smash hit Death Stranding.
Yeah. Most recently Death Stranding. But also, of course, Metal Gear Solid, and also PT, which never got to be made. But yeah, it's a Kojima joint. That's what I like to call him. And I like Kojima. I really, just well, I'll say more about his style of game making later on. But I'm a fan of the worlds that he builds in his video games, in his storytelling. So that's why I wanted to play this game. It was never released in America, and it was like one of those games where, well, I've played Snatcher. I like Snatcher. I heard good things about this game, and I said, "Fuck it, we're gonna play it finally." So here we are.
There we are.
Here we are. We finally did it.
You did it.
So, Policenauts is like Snatcher before, is a graphic adventure game. With more point and click, just kind of like Snatcher. So, Ills' favorite type of game.
Absolutely.
Of like a visual novel type game, and also like Snatcher, it also kind of includes some light gun style modes where you go in first person.
Action scenes.
I mean,
yeah.
they can be used with light gun, but primarily it's supposed to be with a mouse.
With a mouse, which is yeah. So that is how I played it. I played it with the mouse, because on RetroArch you can switch to, because on the PlayStation you can use the PlayStation mouse. So on RetroArch you can switch to the mouse and use the mouse controller, which is how I primarily played it. And I told Noah about it. Neil, so you play it like that too?
Yeah.
No, I play with my controller.
Oh, did you?
I wasn't playing on I wasn't playing on my computer, so I didn't use a mouse.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I tried to use the mouse, but it was like a little bit of a delay, and it was taking me a while to get used to, so I just went with the controller.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I got used to using the mouse. It is a little weird because it doesn't line up one-to-one with your computer mouse, so you just have to like get used to where it is. But yeah, you could use one of the few games on PlayStation you could use the PlayStation mouse accessory for.
Yeah. Too bad you'd have to be Japanese to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or read Japanese, or listen to Japanese.
Yeah. Well, you could actually take a disc and burn the ROM with the English patch on the disc, and then play it on an original PlayStation. So you could do that if you had a modded PlayStation.
There you go.
Not impossible. That option is out there to you. So yeah, it's a point-and-click adventure game, visual novel style game, and the art style is very anime. They actually got an anime studio to do all the work. Anime International Company, and they did cell animation and everything for all the character designs and locations and everything. Basically reworked from all the sprites that were done in the original, which is pretty cool looking. It looks kind of like you're playing in anime in a way, and there's cutscenes in it as well, like animated cutscenes. I did read that the PlayStation version has them at a lower frames per second. I guess the 3DO version,
lower resolution too.
Yeah, lower resolution, but it's still. I mean, you can tell what's going on. It's fine. And the setting in this game, it takes place in the future. It takes place in the year 2040. So, when this game came out in 1994, it was way off in the future. Now, not as far off. Still 19 years away, but it's still. I don't know if all the things in this game are gonna come to light, because in the beginning of the game it actually takes place in 2013, and you have the Policenauts, the aforementioned the title of the game, Policenauts, which were 5 astronauts that were chosen to be
5 police officers that were chosen to be astronauts, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it was. 5 police officers who were chosen to be astronauts. All cops are bastards, by the way.
Which is the most unbelievable thing, that they got 3 people, 2 people from LAPD and 1 person from NYPD to be a fucking astronaut. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then they also got somebody from Japan and somebody from
Tokyo and from Scotland Yard.
Yeah, from Scotland Yard. And they made the Policenauts. They went into outer space to protect Beyond, which was humanity's
Beyond
first,
Coast.
Yeah, humanity's first space colony. So they built the space colony, and they were the first police officers to work up there. And then at the beginning of the game, the main character Jonathan was testing out a new spacesuit, and an accident occurred that made him drift off into outer space, and he was presumed dead, of course, at that point. But there was a cryogenic survival system built into his suit, and he was able to activate that, and they found him 25 years later. But he was in a cryogenic state, so he physically did not age in that state. So he wakes up 25 years later, and of course everybody else that he knew has gotten older. So fast forward 2 years later, into 2040, and Jonathan lives back on Earth, or I guess as it is called in this game, people call it home now. And he works as a private investigator, and Old Los Angeles, which implies that there is also a new Los Angeles now. They must have split
Yeah, they
the
mention
city.
it. It's like in the north, they say, or some shit like that.
Yeah, so they split the city. I guess Old Los Angeles is the crime-ridden part, you know, the run-down part of Los Angeles. So nobody, that's where all the bad stuff takes place. So
You know, another game that featured in old Los Angeles, Fallout.
Oh yeah, you're right. It did. That's funny. So yeah, I mean, you play as Jonathan. You're a PI, and right at the onset of the game, in his office, he's visited by a woman who turns out that she was your ex-wife, who of course presumed, when you were presumed dead, she remarried, but she's coming to you now for help. Her name is Lorraine, and she wants to hire you to help find her missing husband. So that's his name is Hojo, and that's where it starts from there. I'm not going to get too far into details in the story until later on. We can do a spoiler section, but that's the premise and setup.
It's like the quintessential detective noir story. A detective is in a rundown office. He's thinking about his life, and then a woman comes in and tells him, gives him a job. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, always. And yeah, your ex-wife, of course, and trying to get you to look for her husband. And she's aged, and you haven't. You still look young. And she initially stays kind of in the little bit in the shadows because she's like, I don't want you to see how old I am now,
Mm-hmm. And her husband has disappeared in the space colony.
Yeah, so her and her husband live back on Beyond, and you live on Earth now because Jonathan doesn't. He's got fear of space
Cosmophobia.
Yeah, cosmophobia. He's afraid of outer space now because of his accident.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, no, I'm gonna live on Earth. But all the Policenauts and everything live up on Beyond now.
Yeah.
So
and they're all they've all changed. They all have positions of power now.
Yeah.
More or less.
More or less, and they're all older now. They're all in their 50s, and Jonathan's still 30. And you run into you ask for help and run into your old partner from the LAPD days, Ed Brown, and he's basically your best friend and partner during this whole game. Yeah,
this is where it shifts into a Lethal Weapon vibe.
Yeah,
you guys are
big buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally, so if you look at the designs of Jonathan Ingram and Ed Brown, they are 100% just straight up copied as Lethal Weapon.
Riggs and Murtaugh.
Yeah, it's so funny to see. The inspiration couldn't be more obvious. This game is basically Lethal Weapon in outer space.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit of Die Hard in it with Ed Brown being the Winslow Ed, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, and he also has that kind of backstory of
exactly.
There is heavy inspiration, you can tell, Kojima from American cinema at the time, from the late 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely see it. I mean, I think in a lot of his work, he's always been influenced by Hollywood.
Cinema,
yeah. I mean, you look at even Snatcher, right? We played Snatcher in, I think we mentioned
Blade Runner.
It's straight up Blade Runner, It even has a lot of the same premise, and stuff from that game. So, and then you look at Metal Gear Solid even has some stuff that's, straight up very Hollywood-like. So, it's still here. It's still got that inspiration. He also took a lot of inspiration from, I guess at the time I read that he was very infatuated with outer space. The first Japanese person to land on the moon was in 1990. When he started writing this game, he was really big into space, and he loved the idea of, what would it be like if humans did this and lived in space and had a space colony, and what effects would it have on the human body and the human psyche? And that's what he wanted to explore a lot in this game, and you really see that come through the writing, the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they did a lot of research on like what would happen to people in space, like what kind of ailments they have to deal with. They have to, consume calcium to make sure their bones don't, go bad or whatever.
What the effects of like no gravity or less gravity has on the body, and
there's a lot of like technical language in there, but it does a good job at like making the world feel like fully realized. It does a good world building there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's honestly like impressive how much world building he does. Like just finding like the science, like explaining the science behind like these fictional like guns and stuff too. And you're like, and he put a lot of effort into the writing and making sure the world actually feels fully realized. Like this is a real, like a real place or a real scenario, and it seems like it could be realistic.
Yeah, and a lot of it seemed like really believable. Like even stuff that they like, this came out in 94 and like the kid had like a tablet that you could draw on. I was like, oh yeah, that happened.
That's a thing. It's legit a thing.
Like, and he was like, we get 800 gigabytes per second for the tower, and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. That could happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is the science, and even like the medical science, I feel like is probably pretty realistic too. And you know what actually does happen, what can and does happen to the human body if it's put prolonged to zero gravity for too long.
Yeah, and they also took that to like the logical extension of that, where like you would need organ transplants and different artificial blood, that becomes a element of this world for the what are called the Frozeners in this world.
Yeah, the Frozeners, who are like they're kind of like, they're not artificial, but they're more
they're like enhanced, I guess you would say.
Exactly. Enhanced humans. They have like they have different blood, which is like a white blood. Excuse me for not knowing all the science that they explained in the game, because there is a lot to take in.
The blood basically provides more oxygen per. There's a lot more hemoglobin than you get from normal blood, so you have more. If you take an injury, it takes longer for it to be grievous or stuff like that.
I think the actual science behind it would make it so that if that blood would be white, it would cause like the pigmentation of the red to like disappear.
In theory, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know how factual.
it did make his skin for the Frozeners more pale. So, like
that part makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and you meet one as you're going up in outer space. Because of course, you go to Beyond. Jonathan travels to Beyond to track down Hojo, and one of the things I realized right off the bat was I know he does say he is afraid of space, but he does kind of get over it kind of quick. But also, I guess at the same time, he doesn't really have too much of a choice if he wants to pursue this. So, he also does take he gets kind of sick on the flight over, so he like takes some. They have like some drugs to like calm you down, and they offer it on the airplane and everything.
Did anybody not take them?
I took them.
Yeah, I took them too. I wonder what would have happened if we didn't take them. Like, he would have been a lot sicker during the scenes.
Maybe. I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. I think he does mention it later on, near the end of the game or something, where he's like, maybe it wasn't near the end. It was just like another point where he's like, I hope my, I can't remember what the drugs were called, but like, he's like, I hope that they haven't worn off. But most of the game does take place on Beyond. Only like really the prologue takes place on
Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Chapter 5 takes place somewhere else.
Oh yeah, that's true. Chapter 5
Act 5.
Yeah, there's 7 chapters in total in the game, but also an epilogue and a prologue.
Which is pretty deceptive because the fucking chapters 3 to 7 are like not long.
Yeah, it is. It's
short.
odd.
The first and second chapter are the longest chapters in the game.
Yeah.
Act 4 is literally 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it was really weird how they like just all of a sudden it was like, not that it mattered much, but it was just like after playing chapter 1 and 2, you're like, okay, you know, these are pretty long. There's probably maybe like 4 or 5 in the game at most. But then they just like start like at a fucking brisk pace. Like after Act 1 and 2 are on disc 1, and then like 3 through 7 and the epilogue are all on fucking disc 2, but they're all so much shorter.
Yeah, I was kind of worried, like when I got to like Act 4 and Act 5, that something similar to what happened to Snatcher was going to happen in this game, where, I don't know, they just ran out of time and they didn't have the time to complete it correctly. But it didn't seem that way at all. It felt like a good completion to the game, and I just kind of wish they didn't have all the acts. You know, they just shortened it to like Act 3 and Act 4 or some shit like that.
Yeah, they could. It didn't really even need to be like separated into like a bunch of little acts. They could have just made 3 and 4.
Like the last act is purely action sequenced.
Yeah,
for the most part, and then the rest is cutscene.
Yeah, and you mentioned I was worried about that too, because the end of Snatcher goes off the rails really, and kind of like it just sucks.
Yeah, it kind of dumps a lot of information on you to explain everything what happened, and yeah, it's a little overwhelming. Whereas like this game had a lot better pace on the building up the world and introducing to the story and explaining everything.
Well, one, I think they do a little bit of the exposition dump at the end with the fucking villain's monologue that, you know, has to happen, of course.
Yeah.
And that takes maybe a little bit too long, but definitely not as long as Snatcher's. And the second thing is, I like the pacing, but like the first 2 acts were putting me to sleep. Like until the end, like the middle or end of Act 2, then I started waking up again because man, those first 2 acts were really slow. Yeah,
there's a lot of build up and like character introduction and like world building at the beginning of the game. There's a lot of it. It is a little bit slow at the begining. There's just tons of, you know, and it does. I would say for the most part it does pay off, because I think of course the world I think is very well written and built, and also I really like a lot of the characters too. I think a lot of the characters are they're interesting, and they all for the most part I really thought they had interesting and understandable motives too. Even the villains. You know, you could.
Yeah, I mean, it all seemed like believable, smart. Like they weren't just being fucking idiots. They had like a plan in motion. Everybody acts in like more or less in a smart manner. There's like a few segments which don't make sense, like fucking Act 7 when Jonathan just runs to that building for no fucking reason. But yeah.
Yeah, and he also fights off like a fucking army,
like a million fucking people.
But you know, it's I guess, you know, it's a lethal weapon type of thing. You know, I mean, I do like because, you know, 80s action movies, they're ridiculous. One guy like takes on a million guys, which is like absolutely ridiculous. But I do like how the buddy cop stuff was kind of written in there too, and I like how these like very Lethal Weapon-esque like scenarios that they get put in. I thought it was, I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was funny, but also believable. Like the bomb in the bag shop. That was very much like a scene from a Lethal Weapon, you know. And I like that. And then the car chasing motorcycle like shooting scenes. They get themselves in these like situations that are very buddy cop like, and I'm personally a huge fan of those types of movies, as silly as they are. You know, I love Rush Hour, I love Lethal Weapon, I love those types of movies. They're just fun. So I really liked seeing those kind of scenarios being put into the game like this.
I like the scenarios for the most part. The one with the bag sorting came at a really weird moment. because you were just in the middle of a fucking chase. And all the tension just like drained away. And like something serious just happened like right before it. And like everybody was sad. But like then you're sorting out bags and we're like having a good time. Like it's fucking weird.
I mean, there was also the tension of the bomb was going to go off if you picked the wrong.
Yeah, I just mean the beginning part, the bag sorting thing. This is like strange.
Yeah.
But the bomb defusal is one of my favorite parts of the game.
Dude, the bomb defusal was really cool, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually made... I almost fucking ran out of time. I was like... I had like 2 seconds left when that bomb when I finally defused it.
I did run out of time because I was reading the dialogue when they were talking.
I was like trying to read as fast as I could. I was like, yo, I'm gonna run out of fucking time. And it was stressful. And then the part where you have to like... I did die on the part where you had to like move the little piece like through the metal without touching the sides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did die a couple of times because I was trying to figure like the controls were a little weird. Like you have to make sure, like, and it wasn't like exactly clear. Like I took the magnet all the way around and then put it on the side, but I was still close enough to the walls where it just made the bomb blow up. I had to put it all the way to the left.
Oh
yeah. I made that mistake too. I was like, I finally did it, and then I let go of it, and it blew up. I was like, whoops. You have to bring it all the way.
I always put it like way the fuck away because I didn't want to risk it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting, and it like kind of switched up the gameplay, like a unique, like random, like gameplay mechanic that only happens during that one part. But it was kind of cool that they put it in there.
Yeah, it was really immersive.
Yeah,
it's a good time. I really like the segment where you have to unscrew the screws, but you have to make sure not to do it when the red light is on.
Red light, green light.
Yeah,
super good. Yeah, that was cool. And I like Ed being like, I'm too old to do this, but I used to be on the bomb squad. My hands just aren't steady, so you're going to have to do it, John. And Jonathan's like, oh, fuck, I can't do this shit. But he's like, you're going to have to. I'm not doing it. I can't do it now.
Yeah. Classic.
It was, definitely classic buddy cop, like, dynamic between them. And it's exactly Lethal Weapon, you know, because Ed is like, I'm too old for this shit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally 30 years older, so, I mean, you kind of get it.
He is. I think he's 55 or something like that. And, speaking of the characters, I mean, Ed is great. I like Ed a lot.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. He's really cool. He's just such a great guy. And, you really just get to like him as the story goes. You know, he's such a likable character and has such a kind-hearted dude. You know, and he's so easy to like.
And then you got a special appearance from Meryl from Metal Gear Solid.
Well, in fact, this is Meryl's first appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yes. Meryl was in this game, and then Kojima liked her so much, he decided to use her in Metal Gear Solid.
Because she does mention Foxhound and shit.
That's still
her backstory actually takes place during Metal Gear 2. Like, she talks about the fall of Zanzibar Land, and that's what gets destroyed in Metal Gear 2.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Like, she's not part of the game, but, like, she says she's part of Foxhound back then, so.
Yeah, she's not in Metal Gear 2, but, yeah. Kojima loves to, infuse his games with references to his other games.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's also like a store in Old LA that's called Solid Snake, and you see a calendar with the Snatcher picture, all the characters.
Yep. And you also have so Ed works down in the the hell was it, the VP?
Vice.
Yeah,
Vice,
down in Vice at the police station.
BCP.
And it's him and Meryl and Dave, who Dave is he's just, I guess, like kind of a nerdy junk food loving dude. He loves burgers. And actually interesting, Dave is Solid Snake's real name, which is a reference to Dave from Policenauts, which is crazy. And Meryl at the end of Metal Gear Solid wears an orange jacket, which is a reference to Dave from Policenauts.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Kojima loves to reference his old games.
There you go.
And at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 1, during the Konami logo, it plays the little jingle from Policenauts at the beginning of Policenauts. So, we could go on. I think there's a whole list of references that Kojima likes to put from one game to the next, it's just cool and also interesting. It's just interesting, I think, the most that Meryl is straight up Meryl, how she appears and everything.
Meryl before she was Meryl.
Yeah. And Meryl's a big character in this game, Mm-hmm. She gets a lot of time and she's one of the main characters. One of the only main characters that survives throughout the whole game.
Yeah. She plays a good role.
She does. She's badass. And then let's talk about some of the other characters you had. It was you and Ed were the two of the Policenauts, right?
Uh-huh. And then the other ones were Becker, who was the chief of the BCP. Yeah. Like the chief of the police department. And you got Tokugawa, who's the head of the Tokugawa group, which is like your main antagonist. He's the boss of where Hojo used to work, so it's one of the places you want to investigate first.
Yep.
And then you learn about the whole conspiracy that's going on there. And then you have Salvatore, who's the NYPD guy who used to be a policenaut. And he's just kind of like a low-level security dude that you deal with later.
Yeah, who works on the moon doing security stuff. And he's a big douche.
Yeah, he also gets a long-ass monologue for some reason.
Yeah. And those are the Policenauts. So they're all kind of in position of power, except for Salvatore. He's kind of... He does mention, though, that he's trying to pay off alimony for 2 ex-marriages that he had, so... I guess that's why he's in the position he is.
Yep.
But Tokugawa is the richest man on Beyond, and he
owns a pharmaceutical company, electronics, and
it's a conglomerate. It has its arms in everything.
Yeah. In fact, Tokugawa has their arms in Metal Gear Solid because it's one of the corporations from Metal Gear Solid as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they basically. I mean, himself and his company almost run Beyond. They have a hand in everything that's going on almost. Mm-hmm. And even the police station, I think too, right? They mentioned that.
Later on they talk about that.
And Becker, Gates Becker, he becomes the chief of police there. And when you first get there, and Jonathan, everybody's of course surprised to see Jonathan. I think they all knew he was found
alive, but he was back on home, so they didn't really care for him.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all surprised to see him up there too, and some are happier to see him than others, and they all seem except for Ed, I guess even Ed a little bit. They all seem to just have moved on past the Policenaut days, and Jonathan kind of still holds on to it a bit. It feels like he carries the picture of them around still, and carries that picture and a picture of him and his wife around, or his ex-wife. And it seems like he's still trying to hold on to the past a little bit. It's like he's trying to move on, and I think throughout the game, he does, which I think is cool. He has a good character arc. Guys still there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Stop talking. But yeah, I like how Jonathan turned, how he kind of grows as a character throughout the game, and I guess he becomes a little bit more mature near the end when he finds out. The more he finds out, but he also is a big pervert, which plays into some of
very much so.
One
of the things I like about, One of the things that is actually a plus that it never came to the West is what it got to not be censored, and some of the things you can do would never been able to do if it came to the West. The way you can interact with some of the ladies in the game.
I mean, I don't know what you were doing, but I'm assuming you touched somebody's boobs, but that's about it. But that's the only thing I found that
it is completely optional. You don't have to. You don't have to. It's a thing. It's a Kojima thing. You can basically.
I would say he's like a little less pervy than Gillian is from Snatcher. Like he's not that bad.
Yeah. I feel like he is a little less pervy than Gillian is, but there's like almost every main female character in the game you can like grope them, which is odd. There's like jiggle physics specifically in there, and there's even a guy in the credits I saw that was like the head of doing that, and I was like, is there really a guy? Did you really hire somebody just to work on this? But yeah, he did. And I even read that it was toned down in the PlayStation version a little bit because PlayStation was like, yo, what the fuck? Like, when they were porting the game. Because that was around the time where, they had to start putting ratings on video games. So, when they were porting it over, like, PlayStation was like, you kind of got to tone that down. Because also, the PC that it came out on was mostly known for a lot of, like, hentai games. So, it wasn't that out of place at the time when it came out on that. But when it was coming out on PlayStation, they toned it down a bit. When is
Kojima gonna follow his true passion and make some hentai games?
I don't think he will. What do you mean? Death Stranding's a hentai game. What are you talking
about? Okay.
Is it?
No, it's not. Not at all.
Suddenly, Noah's interest in Death Stranding skyrocketed.
But yeah, just that hentai thing now is fucking me up. It was so weird because it's completely optional of a thing too. You can just not do it at all.
Yep.
So it doesn't actually change the game. And getting through the game, I will say is, for the most part, it's pretty easy. It's not confusing. You do have to at some points. Like, I think with a lot of, like, point-and-click games, right? My biggest fear is, like, not knowing what to do. And then, like, just exhausting every option and getting really bored doing so. This game does sometimes make you, like, pick, like, multiple dialogue options, like the same one, but they answer it differently each time, and it won't advance the scene until you, like, exhausted all of them.
Yeah, you basically get options when you click on somebody to ask about stuff, show them something, or do nothing.
Yeah.
And you click on the ask about option, then different topics pop up, and you choose which one you want to talk about. And a lot of the times you have to ask about the same thing multiple times in order to get something new to pop up in order to be able to advance.
Well, Snatcher did that too.
Yes.
Yeah, Snatcher also did that. But, although there are times where you have to, like, do that, and you're like, okay, I gotta keep picking the same one until I know I've exhausted all my options. Mm-hmm. I never felt like it was, at least at any point, like, super overwhelming, or I didn't know what to do to like, you don't have, like, an inventory full of, like, 30 items that you have to fucking show to, like, every character to figure out.
Yeah, you only get, like, at max 5 items at a time?
Like
4?
Right.
So for the most part, it's pretty easy to figure out how to keep the story going as far as point-and-click games, old point-and-click games go.
And also, I mean, they won't let you leave certain scenes unless you finish certain dialogue options.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't get lost. Yeah. You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
Snatcher is like, oh my Jesus. Yeah.
If you're meant to, like, if you're meant to be searching at something in a room, you try to leave that room, and they're like, oh no, I need to, like, look at... Sometimes they'll even straight up tell you what to look at first, you know? Mm-hmm. Which is like, thank you. It makes... Because that's my biggest gripe about point-and-click adventure games, is where They let you go at any place at any time and use any item, and you have a million items, and you're like, what the fuck do I do to go to, to advance the storyline,
And that's why Discworld Noir is in hell.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like this is fine. This is easy. I can just get through the story, and that's it. And that's what I want. I don't want to be like lost and confused. And thank God that doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, it's always the worst thing to happen in these kinds of games, and that's why like it's not necessarily that being lost in the game is bad. It's being lost in these kinds of games where the only option is to do it this one way, and you have to like go through all the fucking dialogue and bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good when they marginalize that kind of experience.
Yeah, agree 100%. I do want to mention that there is the Sega Saturn version of this game. I did read that they added some things, including like some flashback scenes from Jonathan, which were not in the PlayStation version. So interesting that I guess people say that the Sega Saturn version is the best version of this game, which I didn't know was a thing, but it is. So I guess if you want to play this game, maybe the Sega Saturn version might be the best way to play it, because there is an English
Sega Saturn have a mouse?
Maybe? I'm not going to say yes because I don't know 100% if it did. So, but yeah, I guess people like the Saturn version. It's a little bit more. There's a little bit of extra story scenes in there, and
it does.
It does? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So there you go. And it runs, I think, a little bit better too. Has better resolution and a bit better of frame rates during the cutscenes, the animated cutscenes.
Yep.
Which
the
are
picture
cool,
frame rates.
PlayStation cutscenes, you love them. Do you guys want to talk about spoilers and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about story spoilers. So if you do want to play this game and you don't want to hear the spoilers, you can skip ahead, and I will put where the spoilers end in the description. The exact timestamp you want to skip to. So, again, warning to you if you don't want to hear any spoilers. Spoilers talk. So, the main bad guy in the game, there's, I guess, two of them. There's Tokugawa and Gates Becker.
And Redwood. Yeah, there's a lot of people are bad.
Yeah.
Redwood's like the real last boss.
True. He is. And Redwood, go ahead.
And I just want to say, Redwood was like that. What is responsible for one of like the beginning incidents that happened like in the Pro League.
Yeah,
but
kills your wife. You can say we're talking about.
Yeah,
spoilers,
we're in spoiler territory. So yeah, he basically blows up, plants a bomb, kills your wife, and then that's where your first action scene happens, where you chase him down, you try to shoot him and everything. You shoot him, but he doesn't die or anything, but he gets injured in his arm and hand. And then when you go into the bus to Beyond, the train rather, whatever, spaceship.
Yeah. Bus.
Flying
bus. It's a magic school bus.
Yeah. He's injured in his hand. So when I first saw that, I was like, no, they wouldn't reveal the villain in the fucking Pro League, would they? It can't be that obvious. It must be a trick. And then later on, they pushed it even further of like him being an asshole to you and like hating Ed and all that. And I was just like, okay, they're trying to make it way too obvious. So there's gotta be like a twist later on where he's like actually the good guy on your side wants to betray Gates or whatever. And it ends up he'll be a good guy or redeem himself or something. I was like, nope, he was just a straight up asshole the whole way through.
Yep. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
You were definitely overthinking that one. They play it straight to the vest. You see him with the bandage on your hand, and if you're just paying just enough attention, you're like, well, that's him.
Yeah. There's the guy sitting right next to you.
Yeah. And he looks like a fucking jerk, Yeah. Even his character design, you're like, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Straight up, this dude's bad.
He looks like a fucking zombie.
I think the biggest one for me was I was a little bit not big surprised, but a little bit surprised that Gates betrayed you.
Yeah, I thought he was really wanted to get Tokugawa, but I guess not.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the more clever moments of the story where he like actually played it through. Like he actually like set like they were working together the whole time, which makes sense, and they set them up like perfectly, basically.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was pissed, like not pissed at the story, but like if I was Jonathan, I was pissed. I was pissed for him, you know. I was like, dude, the way they set Jonathan to look like the murderer of Hojo was really good.
Yeah, it was really clever. It was unexpected too. Like, it's weird again. Like when we went in the first time and we saw all the black poppies and like the how they were making the medicine and the drugs and shit. I was like, how is there no security like stopping us from like coming in to find all this shit?
Yeah.
I was a little suspicious, but then the next day we actually came in and Tokugawa and Gates were like acting as if like, okay, this is legit, we busting them. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going in, we're doing this. And then it happened, I was like, oh shit.
Well, he also had to sell it to the cops, right? Because like the cops weren't 100% on Gates' side, like ride or die.
Not all of them.
Because later on, you know, they turn against him, but so he's just putting on a show. Yeah,
that was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I was, like I said, I was pissed. I was like, this motherfucker. And I knew it was coming. As soon as he was like, oh, yeah, go ahead, check. I don't care. Go in there. You know, I've got nothing to hide. I was like, uh-oh. This is bad. This is real bad. They were good villains. Because... They were,
and again, very, very believable. Like these are the type of people who, like play tricks and like cover things the way they did, and like that's how they hide their like side business, like by a giant like corporation.
Yeah.
Selling drugs in the background while like having the cover of like a giant pharmaceutical company and like or technologies and working together with the hospital so closely, but actually having control over everything.
Yeah. It's very, very realistic to and unfortunate to a lot of things that could be happening in real life.
Which it probably are, but anyway.
And they're working. You know, they're selling illegal drugs. They're to the mafia. But their reasoning though was also like, you know, it made sense what they were doing. The reason that they were harvesting organs was because they needed them to survive in outer space.
Yeah, so their whole plan was that they wanted to take, you know, bodies or, you know, sometimes kidnap people from the mafia, sometimes just bodies that are about to die, or sometimes people they don't like, and they would make them brain dead in order to harvest their organs, so that they could continue, you know, their space business, basically. And also sell them on the black market. That was, like, the whole thing. So they gave the drugs to the mafia as payment for the, you know, bodies that they could get.
Yeah. And there was a whole entire
with all the organs
warehouse.
And the bodies and stuff, they could stay long. Because, again, there was a lot of... With the way Kojima built this world is, like... Living in space for a long time has... dire effects on your body, so you need to constantly like replace organs, or you have like bone marrow problems, like with Karen, which we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah.
And that's Gates' whole monologue at the end, basically saying, "Oh yeah, you know, human beings don't belong in space. We have to do all this shit to, you know, survive out here. So everything is, you know, the ends justify the means, basically."
Yeah. Which, at the end of the day, they were treating human life like it was expendable, which is wrong. So that's why they had to bust them. And then Ed coming in and saving the day, real good feel-good moment, and I loved it.
It was the Die Hard moment.
The Die Hard moment,
He could finally
even played the fucking tune, like the music, like perfectly, and the action scene when it happened.
Yeah. Oh, and the music in the game, the saxophones, I mean, it's straight out of Lethal Weapon.
Yep.
The soundtrack with all the sax and stuff. I love the music, by the way. We didn't even mention that earlier, but I really liked a lot of the music in the game. It felt like it was pulled right out of 80s action movies, and it was really cool.
Yep.
The main theme of the game, especially at the beginning during the opening credits, is really good. I like it a lot. And you hear the little jingle every time you get the save in between the chapters. Yeah. And also, that's the same one they play at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid, which is like really cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, overall, I really liked I thought the story tied up nicely, even if it was a little cliche. And yeah, we didn't even mention Karen, which is crazy. Sorry, Karen. But Karen is your wife's daughter, who is the anchor at a news station. But she's very sick. She needs a bone marrow transplant. But unfortunately, she needs somebody who's matching that can give her the bone marrow transplant. And there's really nobody that can do that on Beyond. And she's really having a hard time finding somebody to do that.
There's a long transplant list.
Yeah.
Because of all the effects of being in space.
Yeah. And you find out at the end of the game that you have you're a match. And why are you a match? Because you are actually her dad.
Yeah.
Which makes the scene earlier in the game when she was trying to come on to you very weird.
Very awkward.
Well, I mean, he pushed her away.
Yes.
So.
At least Jonathan.
As soon as he did that, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I was actually convinced before that happened that Karen's going to be like fall in love with Jonathan or whatever, and like they're going to actually get together.
Yeah.
Well, I told you that because I've seen Lethal Weapon, I was like, no, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like in the future and he got together with Ed's daughter because of Lethal Weapon, even though there's a big age difference there. But
I had a little bit of a, moment there. It was like a little flirty.
Yeah, and Ed was getting real pissed.
Yeah, they have like a whole dinner scene where they,
Yeah.
He tries out all these all the food she's made and he hates all of it.
That was hilarious. The look on his face every time he went to taste something and he was like, "Oh God, this is so gross."
Yeah.
That was really good. And I like how even the fucking food was like, like, "Oh, well, we eat this in space for like blah 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 reason," and and like we have to eat this because it's easier to make in space, and there was like fucking reasons behind every little thing in that game, including the food. I was like, wow. Yeah.
Other characters, Ishida, Jun Ishida, was the pharmacy tech in BCCH. He's kind of an informant, he turns out to be.
Yeah,
and then he gets like
Mojo.
Brutally murdered. Which is a fun little moment where, you see his decapitated body. It reminds me a lot of the beginning of Snatcher.
Yeah. I like that moment with all the mosquitoes around it, and they're like, "Oh, why is there another planet in the solar system at the museum?"
Yeah.
And then they all fly away, and it's his head. That was really cool. That was a cool moment. And his
although I did not like fucking shooting mosquitoes.
No, that was so dumb.
I mean, I didn't like any of the shooting gameplay. Like, there's a fair bit of it in this game, and none of it is very good.
None of it's like really good. I mean, it's better than Snatchers, which was like.
I don't know if I think Snatcher is better or Policenauts is better than Snatcher. I feel like I understand that the grid is kind of annoying, but the freeform movement is not great. Like, shooting in this game is just not fun. Like, there are a lot of very small targets that you have to shoot, especially near the end.
Be very precise. It's true.
It's exhausting. Like, this is like not what I want to play when I play this kind of game. And plus, I mean, I played it on controller, so it made it a lot worse. But I mean, I hope that the mouse in the PlayStation version or
the mouse
the original
the mouse makes it a lot easier. Honestly.
Yeah, I figured. But even then, I mean, that's not interesting.
Yeah, it's. A lot of it is just, especially like, I think the one that was the dumbest to me was right outside of the moon base thing where you just like shoot the fuck out of these like those suits.
Yeah, the two EMPSs.
Like, this is so dumb. You're just fucking pounding fucking shoot button.
Just become a machine gun, basically.
Yeah. I was actually kind of impressed by the motorcycle chase scene. Just based
that part
just
was
the graphic.
Actually...
Yeah, I mean, on the graphics.
It looked cool, but it was hard to tell when you were hurting him. And and
in
then
general, they kind of give the excuse with the whole Frozen explanation where because they have artificial blood, they can withstand more wounds. But you shot the fuck out of that guy so much.
But especially at that point, he doesn't even make a noise when you hit him.
Yeah, you just have to keep shooting, and then it eventually goes to the next scene or whatever.
And you can't avoid the cars; you have to shoot them.
Yeah,
but every time you die in that section, it'll be stop shooting civilians. I'm I have to. They're in my way.
I noticed that if you shoot near the trucks, they sometimes move, but sometimes. If you shoot the truck, then you lose health.
I just completely ignored them. I didn't shoot them at all.
You lose
I got hit,
health,
but
though, when you get.
I was just focused on fucking shooting.
You take a lot of damage from those.
You take a shitload of health when you ram into the trucks.
I was just constantly shooting the motorcycle guy from Redwood.
Yeah, visually though, that part was pretty impressive.
No, that's the thing. Cool. Visually, I think they did a much better job with the action sequences, but the actual shooting part, maybe you're right. It's the Snatcher did it better with the just aim at one of the 9 parts of the screen.
Yeah.
And you actually hit him. And they only take actually 1 or 2 bullets, rather than you have to unload 7 clips into him before you can move on to the next scene.
There was also, there was also a lot more of that in Policenauts than there was in Snatcher. Snatcher only had fucking 3 or 4 maybe.
Yeah, very few
if
scenes.
That. And then this game had a decent amount of them, it felt like.
Yeah. And some of them, they just felt really unfair. The 100 dudes in the fucking Act 7 in the building. Extremely annoying.
Surprisingly, I thought I was going to lose that one, but I had the sliver of health left at the end of it, and I actually made through without dying once.
Yeah. And
then that you don't get to kill Redwood either, he just kills himself.
Yeah.
And then shooting Redwood when he's on the fucking spiral staircase, and you have to hit this one fucking spot.
Yeah,
it's so annoying.
And it's annoying too because when you find the spot they're hiding in, behind a pillar or something, and you keep your red laser sight there, waiting for them to pop out, they don't pop out. You have to move away for them to pop out.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And they always get the first hit on you. Always.
Yes. Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
That's why you have such a huge life bar that resets every time.
Yeah, and you just have to like gun games, you have to shoot off the side of the screen to reload. At least with the mouse.
But there was a button that
there's a reload button on the controller because I did the first section with the controller, and there's you can press triangle to reload, but on the mouse you have to shoot off the side of the screen to reload, which is kind of annoying. But you have a lot more precise aim, so it definitely makes up for it.
Balanced out, yeah.
Yeah. I wish you could left click to reload, or
I just didn't care about getting it. I was just constantly just fucking just rapid firing that gun whenever I had the opportunity.
Yeah. But,
but I did like the scenes where he would hide in one place, you shoot him a couple times, then you move to another spot. You actually see him move visually to the next spot. That was cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the animation's very well done.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the game takes place on these static images, but there are a lot of moving elements they introduce, in a lot of areas, which is pretty decent.
And even when they're static, they're the characters are blinking and kind of
moving their mouth
moving
and
a little
stuff.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, overall, I really like the aesthetic and the style, the sci-fi kind of cyberpunk style of in the anime. Just all of it. It's very 90s anime too. It's just all of it very pleases me aesthetically for my tastes at least.
Another character we didn't mention was Chris, the director. Of the BCCH.
She was a weird one, in terms of her character progression and motives. I thought she was a weird one for me.
Well, it felt like she was kind of a stock character almost. she's just like this sort of seductress. She's like super hot or whatever, and you don't know what side she's on. And it turns out she's not on your side really. But she also has like a heart of gold, so there's a whole minor redemption arc to it. And
yeah,
it's pretty standard.
And then she just straight up gets murdered.
She gets murdered by her surrogate son or whatever.
Yeah.
For almost no fucking reason at all.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if he even meant to murder her or what. He was trying to shoot at Jonathan.
Well, that's the thing. He wouldn't know that they were talking about what they were talking about. He just came in from outside in his giant fucking mech and shot her. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, for no reason.
Yeah. Ed died as well. Not Ed, Dave.
Dave, yeah, that was what I was talking about before when we were talking about the bag sorting. Like, he literally just died before they go into, like, this segment where, like, oh, should we, call somebody to bring, a real bag so that we can know which bags, the fake bags or the real bag? It was very, it didn't feel like it fit where it was.
The tension just dropped.
Like, yeah, it dropped.
Feel like you were in danger.
It dropped like a rock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I wish they could have, had you find Dave's body after that or something, you know what I mean? Like, maybe he went around back and then he got shot by Redwood while you were defusing the bomb or something like that. That would have made a lot more sense.
And there was also the old guy who worked at...
Victor.
Victor, I liked Victor.
Yeah, I liked Victor too. Sucks that he also died.
Yeah, he's like a forensics tech for the cops, and he's pretty much on your side. Like, he's a cool dude.
Yeah, he hates higher ups and like
he hates the advanced police, the AP.
Yeah, and of course
does everything traditionally. Doesn't try to use tries to rely less and less on computers as much as he can when it comes to certain things.
Well, he has a whole ass fucking computer next to him though.
Yeah,
AI thing. He is old school, and it sucks that he dies, but he gets caught up in it, of course, and he
finds out something he wasn't supposed to, and obviously since the chief of the police, the whole building controls all the cops and everything, they got rid of him.
And his body gets sent to the moon.
Yep.
The moon is where they keep all their organ farm people. Their biomorts.
Dave also. You find Dave and Victor. Victor you find in the morgue. He was about to get sent.
Yeah, he was going to be sent there.
Yeah.
You find Hojo there.
Find Dave's kidney, and you also find what's his name?
Ishida's heart.
Ishida's heart.
Oh, is Ishida? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
And when you find Hojo, he's one of the people that they set you up. Like, you find his dead body in the pharmaceutical company, and they brought Tokugawa and Gates brought him back in order to frame you for the murder. So that's how that part of the investigation ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize you've been set up all along.
Yep. The setup part, though, like we mentioned, really good. I also like the scene on the moon when they had to get in the shuttle that shoots them back.
Yeah.
That also felt like a very Lethal Weapon, like a very buddy cop type moment where they're just like, has anybody ever done this before? Like, well, I don't know, but we're about to find out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jonathan is claustrophobic, and he's like, I can't do this, Ed. And Ed's just like, get in the damn thing. It's our only way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That part was fun. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I also like that there are... We mentioned a little bit how, the villains are very clever. There are a number of parts where Jonathan is pretty clever himself. Like, when he burns the informant spacesuit to, identify it later, and you don't even know that he does that. You don't even know that he does that, but you hear that Ed tells Jonathan, why did you light that cigarette? Like, he doesn't know, then you find out until later on that he did that, which is a really neat moment. And also cool. When Redwood, the first time you meet him, he shows you this bomb, because you don't know he's a bad guy yet, but you should. And he tells you he always chooses the blue wire when he builds a bomb. Mm-hmm. But then when you have to defuse the bomb that he made, if you choose the blue one, you die. Yeah. So, he's fucking with you.
Yeah.
Even in the beginning, he's fucking with you. And I thought that was very funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Jonathan honestly ends up, he's a goofball kind of, but he's a very good detective and police officer.
Yeah. Unless he's running into buildings for no reason.
But yeah, he's really good, and yeah, the whole thing with the cigarette actually leading up to something I thought was cool, and they they mentioned it throughout the whole game. Like everybody's always mentioning, dude, you can't be smoking here, and it's like,
although.
Sorry.
I wish he played more of a bigger role, because that was the only moment that he actually used the cigarette. I wish he
it's insane.
Used in other scenes.
It's insane that he has a cigarette in his mouth while he's eating food. What the fuck is he doing? Who does this?
That's true. Oh man, and I really liked. I thought the ending was good too, when just him leaving. The whole. It was very cliche, but I still it was good. Nice, heartwarming.
Yeah, cliche is not always bad. It's far better than Snatchers.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a lot of cliches, but they were well written and just good, good, just well produced, and just the ending with the moment when him and Ed hugged at the end too. It was pretty emotional. It was good, I really liked it. I felt, they really are, good friends and mean a lot to each other. So, and you felt it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess lastly, the last thing I would mention is the crest puzzle. Straight up fucking lies to you. I mean, the game does not tell you the truth. You have this
right.
You have this puzzle where you have to figure out this passcode for this computer system, and the game shows you this chart with 8 crests on it. When you get to the computer, there are fucking 18 options.
Yeah,
and you cannot learn the other options unless you look into the instruction booklet. But the game tells you before you get there. The game tells you before you get there, oh, I've already, learned everything I need to know. Like, he tells the other characters that, like, multiple times. And it's not true.
Yeah. That's why I posted that in chat. I was like, here you go, guys. You're gonna, you're probably gonna need this. Because I got to that point and I was like, what the fuck? I had to look it up online because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And even the ones, I only remembered a couple of them.
Yeah. Like,
you literally can't
house, know. And I had a feeling it was going to be important, so I knew some of the symbols because I thought they would like pop up later on because they keep telling us like, oh, this is the family insignia, blah blah. I was like, okay, I'll keep a mental note of this. So I knew the Hojo one, which is basically a Triforce from Zelda games. And like the Tokugawa industry, whatever, with the 3 clovers and like one or other 2 ones. But then there's like all those popped up. I was like, oh, I have no idea what the fuck these are.
Yeah, I mean, you could learn every single one in that chart and not have it.
Yeah.
They give you, the ones that they want you for the passcode, it's random, but like it'll be ones that are not on the chart too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit.
Yeah. Yep. And you have to. I looked it up online. And I was just like, all right, since I had to look this up, I'm just going to post it in the group chat. Cause,
I mean, you have to look in the instruction book, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't have that, so. But yeah, okay. Anything else? Spoilers over. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No.
No. Okay. All right. With that being said, it is time to take Policenauts. No, we're not going to do that yet. We're gonna give recommendations before we do move on to the end. But let's do recommendations. We'll start with me. And yeah, definitely, I would recommend this game. Personally, as a big fan of this type, visual novels just in general, but also. I like Kojima. I like the setting. Like I said, I like the story. There's a lot to this, and I think that it is a good playthrough. So I would definitely recommend it. Yes. Noah.
Yeah, I mean, I recommended Snatcher, and this is in the same ballpark, just better story in general. So yeah, definitely go for it. Especially if you want to like explore Kojima's games before Metal Gear, and when he became famous. So yeah. Definitely a good thing to check out.
Nils?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, try to play it on mouse, I guess. The controller's a pain in the fucking ass. Especially in the shooting sections, which really suck at the end of the game. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the story's really good, the character's really good. I enjoyed it for the most part. Except for the slow start at the beginning, but once it gets going, it delivers.
Okay. And with that being said, it's time to take Policenauts and put it on the list.
The list.
You can follow along with the list in the pastebin link in the description below, where every episode of the Game Club we take whatever game we've been playing and we add it to this ever-growing list ranked from best to worst. And we are tasked with adding the game to that list, figuring out where it goes with the games that are already there. So with that, we'll start with myself because I chose this game. And looking at the list, I looked at it a bit earlier, and I was thinking, I was looking around, I was thinking like maybe just above Freedom Planet, but that's just like a starting point, and working our way around there. I just originally, I do think this game is better than Snatcher, and Snatcher's at 114. But then looking at just kind of putting it above games or around that section, I kind of landed around the 90s. So, of course, you guys are whatever you guys think, but
no.
Looking at around like Phoenix Wright, like I was trying to like compare the two. It's like really, even though they're both visual novels, it's like quite different. Like maybe below Stardew. I think it's like the story-wise, I really loved it. Like you, Brandon, I love buddy cop movies. Like I love Rush Hour and all that. Yeah. So like the story stuck out to me quite a bit, especially considering how old this game is. And like they did a really good job with all the characters. So like with Phoenix Wright, like I was more emotionally attached to, but with Policenauts, I enjoyed the story more. If that makes any sense.
Okay.
So like,
so you want it below
I feel like they should be close to each other, kind of. And like again, with Phoenix Wright, the investigation parts are kind of tedious sometimes, but it's like kind of interesting. Whereas like with Policenauts, the action sequences they're engaging and immersive, but they can be done better. So
how do you feel about Danganronpa?
Danganronpa, that also had a really good story, but I felt like the dialogue between the characters at times were very repetitive for not really any good reason. Dragged on a little bit longer than it needed to be, but when the actual story segments came in, it mattered quite a bit. It was really good. So, actually, yeah, that's a good point. The trial system was pretty cool too. Damn it.
All right.
What were you thinking then?
How do you think about Hotel Dusk? You think it's better than Hotel Dusk?
Hotel Dusk. Great character. Well, I like Hotel Dusk. I love the setting and like the characters most of the part. The story itself was kind of awkward in the sense that it only took place in one night, and it was
there's a lot of coincidences.
A lot of coincidences, yeah. Like it felt like the situation was forced. Like it wasn't as believable as Policenauts was in that sense too. Whereas like it felt a lot more natural for Policenauts, even though it was like in space, we living in beyond in the future. This was just like more real. It should have been a more realistic setting, but it wasn't. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean I'm fine with below Stardew. I'm fine with below Stardew, I guess.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I think that's good.
Hey.
All right, cool. So that puts Policenauts at number 94 on the list, and surrounding it, number 92, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Number 93, Stardew Valley. Number 94 is now Policenauts. Number 95, Pokemon Sword and Shield. And number 96, Octopath Traveler. And that will do it for the list. and pretty much done with the episode. Before you shut it off, I do have a couple things I want to talk to you about. So hey, if you do enjoy the Jump Up Supercast Game Club, I just bunch that all together. But if you enjoy the Jump Up Supercast Game Club, make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast listening service of your choice, including SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, where new episodes of the Game Club go up every other Thursday, as well as our other show, just the Jump Up Supercast. Episodes go up every Monday of that, where we just talk about video games, the news going on in games, and we add games to the list every episode. So make sure you give us a follow, a like, a share, and feel free to let us know what you think about Policenauts, if you've ever played it, or if you are interested in playing it now, down in the comments below. We'd love to interact with people, and if you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon. For $1 a month, you get the chance to choose one of our Game Club games every single round. So if there's a game that you really want us to play, and you want to get the chance to have that game picked, we raffle it off. So for just $1 a month, you support the podcast. You get that. You get access to our Discord, where you can listen to recordings live, and just talk to us about video games. And if you want to talk to us about games and also hang out with us while we play games, we also have a Twitch, twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast, where you can just hang out and give us a follow. We play games on there. You can talk to us, whatever you want there, as long as it's nice and respectful. And you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to stay up to date on everything that we post. So when new episodes go live and all that, just give us a follow, and then you can just be up to date, be in the know. So before we leave, we do have one thing to cover. Ills, it is your turn to pick the next game for the Game Club. So why don't you tell everybody what we're going to play next?
All right. Well, we got 2 of the games currently on the list. It's time for the final one. I'm gonna round out the Operation Rainfall trilogy and do the last story.
All right. So we are going to play the last story and get that final Operation Rainfall game on the list. And we will talk about that and tell you what our opinion is on that in 2 weeks. So if you're interested, check us back and we'll listen to that. And also, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Ills and Noah, for playing games. And I want everybody to do me a favor. Go out, play video games, and just be nice.